Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are talking about potential draft candidates for the Seahawks, highlighted by Kayvon Thibodeaux and Derek Stingley Jr. But before we get to that, I want to know, how long have you been a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, whether it's been a year or your whole life? Let us know in the comments below how long you have been a member of this historic fan base. We want your voice to be heard. And speaking of which, you need to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Those new fans, old fans, whoever you are, you got to make sure you're getting the latest Seahawks news and rumors from us each and every day here on Seahawks Today. And the best way to do so is subscribing to Seahawks Today, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, or hit the red sub button. Make sure those notifications are on as well to be a part of our coverage each and every day here on Seahawks Today. Kayvon Thibodeaux has been slipping in draft boards. If you recall, not too long ago, Thibodeaux was listed as the number one player on most draft boards across America. And now we've seen his stock start to slip. But nonetheless, this is a guy that was a first-team All-American this past season, unanimous. He already has his own crypto company. Compared to the likes of Brian Orakpo, good company to be involved with, Thibodeaux is one that I think everyone expects to be a big impact player in the National Football League. And his numbers for his time at Oregon were nothing short of impressive. An overall grade from the nerds at Pro Football Focus of 83.2, a pass rush grade of 91.5, run defense 76.8, and a true pass set pass rush grade of 92 from Kayvon. Now, with all that being said, with Kayvon Thibodeaux, with the numbers being very good, there are some concerns elsewhere. And Brock Heward was on radio in Seattle this week. And, of course, Seahawk fans know all about Brock, a former Seahawk and Washington Husky himself, who's done radio in Seattle for a long time and also works for Fox Sports' college football coverage. Here's what he had to say this week in regards to Kayvon, saying, I think there's two things. I think, number one, if you study him, and I had a few games of his over his 3 years at Oregon, so I did Kayvon's games. When the motor is flipped on and the gas pedal is stepped on, the RPMs are at a max. The guy is a monster. The guy is a top 3 to 5 pick in the league, period. But there's just too many times that you flip on the tape and the RPMs are just not revved up. The engine is not on. It is not at a full go, and that concerns NFL people. So there you have it from Brock Heward, who has seen this guy a lot over the last few years. And I'll have my take on Kayvon Thibodeaux and if he should be a member of the Seattle Seahawks in just a moment. But before we do, I want to hear from you, Seahawk fans. Let us know. Chime in. If you think the Seahawks should draft Kayvon Thibodeaux, type D for draft, type P for pass. Let your voice be heard if you think Kayvon should come to Seattle. D for draft, P for pass. Now, for me, I look at a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux at this spot. You can't pass on him if he is available for the Seahawks team. I know that there are concerns about his ego or that he might take plays off, but I think those are things that can be coached through. You mean to tell me a football player's got an ego? That's not the first time I've heard that before, folks. That's okay with me that he might have a little bit of an edge to him of sorts. And when you get that paycheck rolling, when you talk about competing for a Super Bowl eventually, I think that's type of the things that can get guys excited, can get that extra step of some sort. So I'm not concerned if Kayvon is available. If he slips all the way down to 9 for the Seahawks at that spot, I don't think you can pass up on him. I would take Kayvon Thibodeaux if he is still around at number 9. Here's more on Kayvon Thibodeaux from ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes, a known Seahawks fan. She was talking about Kayvon as well as Derek Stingley when asked about what the Seahawks should do at number 9. Here's what Kimes had to say. I wouldn't be surprised if it just comes down to the best player available. You know, if Derek Stingley is there, you take him. And Thibodeaux is off the board, and maybe the top tackles are. Although I would take Stingley over, honestly, a tackle personally. I think he's that good. I think he's the kind of player that you can build a defense around. Or if Thibodeaux was there, Thibodeaux for me. More from Kimes. Let me put it this way. The Seahawks would be thrilled if Carolina takes a quarterback, I think. I don't expect them to go quarterback with 9, but I could be shocked. But I think if those picks can be used on positions like wide receiver, quarterback, whatever the Seahawks don't need, I think they would be over the moon. That is from Mina Kimes of ESPN. So I'll tell you what I think about Derek Stingley in just a moment. But before we do, the NFL draft, less than a week away. You got to dress like the draftees that the Seahawks could be picking up. And you have an opportunity to do so. Our friends at Fanatics have these great Seahawk draft hats, which are now available. And you can get your hands on these at chatsports.com/Seahawks draft to be looking like one of the newest members of the Seattle Seahawks. Here's your chance to do so. And they come in all different types of sizes and colors and shapes. Whatever best suits you, they have plenty of options available. Chatsports.com/Seahawks draft to get one of these awesome Seahawks draft hats. All right, so more on Derek Stingley now. Let's tell you about him, of what he brings to this Seattle Seahawks team potentially with his resume. And the resume on Derek Stingley is very good. He was a 2-time first-team All-American at LSU in his 3 years there, won a national championship in 2019, and he's being compared to Stephon Gilmore, who just got paid by the Indianapolis Colts and was a highly sought-after player throughout the last couple of years as he was in New England and Carolina, and so that's good company to be mentioned with the likes of Stephon Gilmore there. The guys at ESPN Insider provided some grades on Derek Stingley, and I think the reason why that we want to look at these grades in particular is that the sample size wasn't very big with Derek Stingley. He had that great freshman year where he was an All-American, but he's been injured ever since, back and forth, only playing 7 games last year, only playing 3 games this year. So with that said, the production, a 2, above average, height, weight, speed, all that is there. Exceptional stuff for Stingley. But the durability is a big problem. He gets a 4, which is below average on this 1 through 5 scale. The intangibles, pretty good as well, 2 above average. So you can see with Derek Stingley, I think you like everything about him except those durability issues, especially for a guy that's so young at this point to have those durability problems. That's a big concern. But nonetheless, what do you guys think? This is your chance to sound off. Derek Stingley Jr., hell of an athlete. Do you want to see him come to Seattle? Type Y for yes, type N for no if you think the Seahawks should draft Derek Stingley at number 9. Y for yes, N for no. Personally, I disagree with Mina Kimes. I would pass on Derek Stingley at number 9. He is a brilliant talent. But with all that being said, when you look at the injury issues that he has suffered early on in his career, I don't think things get better necessarily when it comes to injuries as you get older. That's only asking for stuff to add up, and I'm really concerned about that at this point. It'd be one thing if it was a bowl game injury or if he missed a couple games and came back. But the fact that we're talking about somebody that's had injury issues now for 2 seasons, that concerns me too much. Too high at number 9 for me for Derek Stingley. And I think you also look at with this Seahawks team that they have other concerns to deal with, needs to address. And although we talked about best available here, I'm not including Derek Stingley among that best available category. If Evan Neal's around, Charles Cross, any of those guys, Kayvon Thibodeaux, like we mentioned, all of those guys I would consider, because of the injury issues that we've seen with Derek Stingley, better among the best available ideas. So personally, Derek Stingley, really good player, but not quite good enough for me when it comes to that number 9 pick. I lean more towards Kayvon Thibodeaux. We appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out here on Seahawks Today. As always, follow me on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live, and we'll be hearing from you next time here on Seahawks Today. Thanks for joining us.